And welcome to the second part of the week 5 overview videos. This one is going to be doing an overview of the assignments and what you're expected to do this week. You'll notice that there are a fair number of links under instruction, as well as one that's under introduction. The one under introduction is just a overall view. There's lots of advice columns like this. This is just one that I find to be fairly clear and short and easy to read, to ask you how do you improve your writing overall. And the main piece of advice I think is most useful is clarity and get to your point. Many people think academic writing is about sounding smart, but nothing sounds more intelligent than knowing what you're trying to say, saying as clearly as you possible, and not beating around the bush. Now, sometimes to be clear, you have to spend a long time explaining a very complicated idea. It may take a paragraph or several paragraphs or a page to get one solid idea across. But don't always assume that. Always assume that clarity can be short. And if you have to spend a lot of time, you're not spending a lot of time padding it with unnecessary words or phrasing. You're spending that time saying things that are worth saying. Several of you are in professions that you need to get something across right away and make certain that what you're saying is clear. Um, and so you understand that if it is a complex thing and it takes somebody a little while to tell you the point, that's because it is complex and you need to pay attention to everything, not that they're wasting your time with it. So obviously the first thing is the reading quiz. Go through chapters 20, 21, 24. Look at all the specific points that I mentioned in the other video and what is being asked for here. I will mention one thing here that the quiz asks you specifically about doing graphic organizers and essays and stuff. That is a very useful question to ask for because several of you I know probably skip that step, but it is the more complex your essay is, the more necessary it is to have some sort of organizing tool. All right, so I give you a link to the wiki page for argument. Again, in the other video, I talked about why I use these kinds of pages. It is always useful to look at something like a Wikipedia or some other resource that can give you an overall view of how these things work, what they're for, and what they're about. Obviously, you can't cite this, and there's always worth looking at other resources to help further deepen and expand your understanding of things. But it's worth checking out what the overall thing that you're doing here is. Another thing I do is give you a classic Monty Python video where he tries to seek an argument, and in the course of making jokes and puns and point all that sort of thing, they illustrate what the difference is between an actual argument as people consider them to be, as well as what arguments are supposed to be. And other things is I have a Purdue Online Writing Lab resource. This is several pages here. It's not just here. It's talking about all these various steps in the process of creating an argument paper. So this is another good resource if you get confused or you feel like the book or the wiki page hasn't given you enough to go on. Again, I'm a big fan of this website. So this is something you can keep with you even if you don't keep the book with you. And then another thing to look at is a much more simplified version, WikiHow, which you saw me cite in the other video. This is a good way of breaking down in simple terms what you're expected to do when you do argumentative essays. Obviously, simplistic terms don't necessarily cover everything you need to do, but you could do far worse than looking at the WikiHow to remember all the steps you have to keep in mind. The reflection forum this week is a little different. I want you to look at Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech and the entire speech, not just the part that most people listen to, the couple minutes. It's a reasonably, it's about 15 to 17 minutes, I believe. I don't remember the exact time. But it's a longer speech than we know, and there are many points that he goes through. The reason I want you to look at this speech is because the number one ways you encounter arguments in the real world is through political and activist speeches that are trying to convince you that something is a problem and something needs to be done about it. Since Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech is widely considered one of the greatest speeches ever given, is a wonderful tool for seeing not only how he uses various appeals, but how he makes strong claims, he presents evidence, and then he also has a call to action. So take the time to actually look at the entire speech and then respond to it. And what I'm mostly getting at is how does it work for you, and what do you think it makes it effective or not effective for you? One of the most interesting things is a lot of people don't want to admit that sometimes speeches, especially the ones we all praise, don't always work. But no one is perfect all the time, not even Keen. So, did everything work, or did he miss a step? Did he in some way fail to address it? And why was that? What can you identify what he did right and what he did wrong? And of course, this is the argumentation essay assignment so that you get a sense of what you'll be asked to do next week. As I will point out one more time, this essay is not due this week. It will be due in the final week. It will be due the last day of class. So this just helps you understand what it is you're being asked to do when you're doing all the pre-writing and what your goal is. I will point out that it's 1,000 to 1,250 words, which is about 4 to 5 pages in length. It depends a little bit on your font, but in Times New Roman double space point, it is that length. And also remember that you need to have at least three relevant, credible sources, and two of them have to be scholarly, um, taken from databases and things like that. Even though I am a fan of using sites such as Wikipedia to get an overall understanding of a topic, you cannot cite Wikipedia. All right, and so the other assignments, of course, is the writing skill essay. This is again referring to the writer's reference to help you understand basic concepts of what parts are needed in these types of essays and what you should be attempting to do. You do another essay analysis, trying to figure out how essays work and what makes these essays function in a proper way. You don't need more than a couple sentences. I do want to emphasize again that these kinds of assignments are here to help you understand what you're doing. So if you are inclined to give a short answer, think about whether or not this answer has helped you understand what's being asked of you fully. And finally, the source summaries, which you did last time for the cause and effect essay. One thing to pay attention to with source summaries is one of the goals of these summaries isn't just to let me know that you found a source and you've read it, but it's also to help you think about what you're doing with this information. So one of the things I would like you to include is just a short line. It can be a sentence or two sentences of how you think this information can be used in your essay. Is I think I can use this to introduce the topic, or I think I can use this as a counter argument that I will refute, whatever that is. So those are the main prep work, and then of course you have your pre-writing. And again, use your pre-writing to help you understand what you need to do um, uh, to make your essay. You let this work for you. You don't have to do more than a sentence or two for each of these, but think about how well your responses are helping you prepare for the essay. So those are the main things I wanted you to be aware of for this week. And then, of course, next week will be, week 6 will be the final week where you're doing other steps as well as having some reflections. So if you have any questions, as always, you can email me, or I should be available in some office hours. Please let me know if you want to meet with me office hours, because my schedule is a little chaotic this week. And of course, I have my message form if you want to speak to me there. I will see you later. Thank you. Bye.